It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busing people in. Well, you know what? We've been busing people in to deal with UFGOS for 50 years and we're not going to stop now. So said Scott Fovell, until recently the national field director for left-wing group Americans United for Change. The people he described so vulgarly are Republicans, and by deal with he was referring to committing vote fraud. You know, that crime Democrats claim doesn't exist. Captured on video by a Project Veritas undercover reporter posing as a Democrat donor aiming to perpetrate a vote fraud plot, Fovell's startling admissions come on the heels of an undercover video showing New York City's Democrat election commissioner, Alan Shilkin, admitting that there is a lot of voter fraud. But while Shilkin actually lamented that political operatives bus people in, Fovell is one of the election thieves orchestrating the busing, proudly. Despite the above, GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump was still asked at Wednesday's debate whether he'd accept the November 8 election outcome, unconditionally. This is much like asking baseball fans if they'd accept their team's loss even though it's known the umpires are biased against their side and that the other team intends to cheat. And this political skullduggery has already been honed. As Zero Hedge reports, Project Veritas head James O'Keefe reveals how people, like Fovell, successfully organize massive voter fraud in key swing states. Among other things, Fovell goes into great details about how fraudulent out-of-state voters are hired on at fake shell companies just so they can register to vote and are then paid for their votes through paychecks from those same entities. Fovell goes on to detail how the operatives bring people into different states, using their own personal vehicles or by having shell companies rent vehicles, instead of using buses, which would make it easier to prove a conspiracy. The Project Veritas video also features a co-conspirator, Robert Creamer, whom Breitbart describes as a veteran Chicago activist and convicted felon who is thought to have planned Democrats' political strategy during the push for Obamacare in 2009 and 2010. Creamer is also the co-founder of Democracy Partners, a consulting group that, according to Project Veritas videos, apparently contracts directly with the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC, and that works with an array of super PACs and consultants to organize, film and publicize their provocations. In fact, Creamer is so deeply embedded in the Democrat machine that he has visited the Obama White House 342 times since 2009. Not surprisingly, Fovell expressed admiration for this older manipulator, saying, "Bob Creamer is diabolical and I love him for it. I have learned so much from that man over the last 20 years, I can't even tell you. And he calls me to be his firefighter a lot of the time, because there are people who in our movement will not do what it takes to get ST done. And I'm not that person. I'm the one they send when everything has gone to ST. And so he spends a lot of time on the phone with my boss asking me to go places that I don't wish to go. And what gets done?" Fovell explained. "We manipulated the vote with money and action, not with laws." The fraudster continued. "It's a pretty easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busing people in. Well, you know what? We've been busing people in to deal with UFGOS for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. They used to bus people out to Iowa. If they needed people there, we'd bus people out to Iowa." As for future schemes, Fovell mentioned 2 other swing states, saying, "Honestly, the ripest environment to do it in? 2. Within striking distance, Michigan, Indiana. Least restrictive donation caps and campaign finance laws and investigative arms, and any of that. Like they have weakened it so bad in those 3 states, sick. You could F your mother in front of the governor and not go to jail, if you have enough money to do this." What may enrage American patriots even more is that Fovell put the Project Veritas reporter in touch with a Democrat operative who was willing to help facilitate a vote fraud scheme, and who is also a Mexican-born illegal alien. The man's name is Cesar Vargas, a New York lawyer and Dreamer ally who is co-founder of the Dream Action Coalition. As for his criminal dream, he stated, "Like I said, this is not gonna happen this election. So I think it's about, for us, let's see who the next president is. If it's Donald Trump, it even makes more sense. The issue will be more credible and it'll give us more opportunity to jump in there. If it's Secretary Clinton, and the voter ID laws are losing and we have much more opportunity to vote, and we have immigration reform, it's not going to be as significant, right?" Vargas also said in no uncertain terms, "Yeah, and for me I totally get it. This is illegal, this is something that can be done." As for Fovell, he had expressed his determination to expand the scheme, saying that it could be put into practice on a much bigger scale. You implement a massive change in state legislatures and in Congress. So you aim higher for your goals, and you implement it across every Republican-held state. Fovell helped make clear part of the reason why vote fraud is mainly a Democrat province, saying in Part 1 of the Project Veritas vote fraud investigation, the video cited above is Part 2, there is a level of adherence to rules on the other side, Republicans, that only when you're at the very highest level, do you get over. But he clearly has no such moral encumbrances, saying in the video that it doesn't matter what the friggin' legal and ethics people say, we need to win this MRFR. And Fovell worried no more about the law than the legal people, telling the Project Veritas journalist, "The question is, whether when you get caught by a reporter, does that matter? Because does it turn into an investigation or not? In this case, this state, Wisconsin, the answer is no, because they don't have any power to do anything." And perhaps he's right. Explaining why Project Veritas' first vote fraud video didn't get wider exposure, James O'Keefe said that many media outlets spiked the story at the last minute. "Our sources tell us the reason they did so was fear of retaliation and retribution from a future Hillary Clinton administration." Nonetheless, Fovell was fired Monday by the Americans United for Change, which claimed that it has always operated according to the highest ethical standards, while Dreamer announced Tuesday that he'd be stepping back from his work with the Democratic campaign for Hillary Clinton. Of course, it's almost a given that after a 6-month hiatus, they'll be back, with a different organization and perhaps in a different guise. For more shocking evidence of how bad vote fraud has become, view the Fox News Sunday Morning Futures video below, which presents an investigation into the matter. So how bad is vote fraud? The Washington Post reported in 2014 on a study showing that non-citizen voters might have already tipped U.S. elections in Democrats' favor. And the problem won't go away if we just cede elections, say nice words, and abide by a rule of law.